Hey, you know what time it is?
What time is it?
It's time for a sports roundup. Father Matt Frisbee joining us live. Morning, Father. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well, Ron and Dave. How are you doing?
Doing fabulous. And, you know, we love this segment, but each and every week it seems like the amount of sports to cover just grows.
Yeah,
There's a whole lot going on in the world of sports right now.
That's exactly right. There is a lot. And, you know, we're going to actually start with baseball, even though it's ended. And I don't even know if we covered it, you know, last week, but the Texas Rangers won the World Series. That is their first as an organization.
Yeah.
Historic.
So, you know, yeah, historic. So, you know, 4-1, the gentleman's sweep, as they call it. But even bigger baseball news is everything that happened yesterday. The Indians, or some people call them the Guardians, hired their new manager to replace Terry Francona, and they hired Stephen Vogt, who, you know, was just playing not too long ago. He was a catcher, and the word on him is, you know, a guy who very much has kind of that self-deprecating humor that Terry Francona has. Just a great guy with intangibles and leading a ball club and managing that clubhouse. So that's what's going on there. A big part of that was because the Indians were also interviewing Craig Counsell, former player. I think he was on that 97 Marlins team that beat the Indians in the World Series. But Craig Counsell was kind of the hot item as he was maybe looking to leave Milwaukee, and it was looking like, even though he interviewed with Cleveland, that he was probably going to go to the Mets. That didn't happen. Instead, he was hired by the Cubs, who yesterday morning did have a manager, David Ross. So they fired David Ross and hired Craig Counsell all in the same day.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Were they anticipating that firing? Was that a surprise that he had been fired or no?
That was a surprise.
Okay, yeah, right.
That was a big surprise. No one, especially since he had not been fired after the season ended, you know, for them a month ago.
Are you surprised at all or worried at all about Stephen Vogt not ever having managed a club before?
I don't know. You know, I mean, all the reports was that he was incredibly well respected in every team he played for and was very much a clubhouse leader.
Okay.
And I think that's what, in part, they were looking for. You think about Tito, you know, was he on top of all the analytics and this or that? And maybe even at times people would complain about some of his, you know, use of pitchers or the bullpen particularly. But if there's one thing you knew about Tito was he could get a team to play because he knew how to lead. And I think that's what they're looking for with Stephen Vogt, and I think that's why they hired him. So,
yeah, it seems like a really good choice for that reason because, let's face it, Terry Francona is a tough act to follow. And you want somebody who's going to come in that's a, you know, kind of a player's manager, you know?
Exactly. You know, so I think that's what they're looking at, and, you know, we'll see. It is a tough act to follow. In the end, though, too, okay, what can your manager do? But it comes down to, are your pitchers pitching well, and are your hitters hitting, and guys in the field fielding? I mean, just like with any sport, we could talk all about coaching and leading and managing, and there is something to that, no doubt. But it's about the Jimmies and Joes, as they say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always love Nick Saban's famous quote. Usually, if he's losing at halftime, they say, "What do you have to do differently?" He said, "We need to score more than them in the second half." Any other questions? You know, like, come on, it's a sport. We know what we need to do.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. People don't like Nick Saban, but you know, frankly, you listen to what he has to say. He's spot on about everything.
Oh, he is. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and speaking of Nick Saban football, you know, here we are. We didn't talk about it last week because it didn't happen until after our segment, but the college football playoffs first rankings came out. They're, of course, irrelevant until the end of the year gets here. But, you know, Ohio State ranked number 1 due to their resume, having beat Notre Dame, who lost over the weekend, and Penn State, and Georgia 2, Michigan 3, and Florida State 4. And Michigan will finally play a team with a pulse for the first time this year as they face Penn State at Happy Valley. Over at Penn State at noon on Saturday. So looks to be a big game. Of course, the other thing with Michigan, I mean, just kind of all this controversy swirling around with the sign stealing scandal and everything with that. The Big Ten came out and said, don't be surprised if there is some form of discipline coming down the pike. So we'll see.
But probably not this year, right? I mean, it'll apply starting next year, I would think.
Well, certainly, the NCAA has their own investigation going on, and that'll take a lot longer. The Big Ten, who knows?
Yeah, right.
Interesting. There's a whole lot of drama going on in the sports world right now.
That's right.
Michigan turned and said, it's not us, it's you. Now they've got a counter thing going on saying Ohio State was spying on them while they were spying. I'm like, well, wait, what? So,
the NCAA came out and said, no, they didn't.
Oh, that's good. All right.
Thank you, Father Matt. Thank you, Father Matt. Thank you.